So Bob Bitmead, and I tend not to use pre and post nominals of distinguished Professor Emeritus Ronald Bitmead. I don't answer to that, and it took me a long time to convince people not to call me Professor. My subject area is feedback control systems, which is a very mathematical subject in theory, and the practice is of great importance to industry in regulating processes and how do you deal with measurements and actuations and estimation and so on. And so I have degrees in applied mathematics from the University of Sydney, and then a master's and a PhD in electrical engineering from the University of Newcastle. I've been involved in, we have two major technical organisations, the International Federation of Automatic Control. I was president of the IEEE Control Systems Society, financial vice president for a few years, and so on. So the Control Systems Group was an original part of what in those days, I'm going to get the names wrong, it was AIMS. And they had control systems people there, and particularly notable amongst them was Hal Sorensen. And Hal is still with us, and he teaches in the systems engineering program. He moved and became the scientific advisor to the Secretary of the Air Force and these other companies on the East Coast before returning. And so we had a control systems group. A decision was made that back in the 1990s that we really needed to have a high-class control systems group, and it should be in MAE. And Bob Skelton was hired to put that together. And he then acquired Miroslav Kristich, Raymond de Califon. Raymond was still a PhD student at the time. Tom Bewley, Bill McEnany, and so it's grown. On the academic side, we're powerful, but on the leadership side, we're even more powerful. So in terms of pulling our weight and guiding the ship that is control systems research, we're pretty much there. The new people, as in any excellent organisation, are a whole lot better than us oldies. And that's how we want it. We go out of our way to appoint people better than ourselves. If you had to point to a group in the US in control systems, the UCSD Control Systems Group is spectacular. The connections at UCSD have been across the board, from the senior administration to sitting on committees which were sort of trans-campus committees. And so I count amongst my best friends psychiatrists and historians and pianists, and that gives you both a different perspective and a reinforcement of the same perspective, meaning that there are sort of abstract but pretty well understood measures of quality and innovation and impact, and they cut across the board everywhere on campus. And we really value those things in assessing appointments and promotions, and we have a fabulous portfolio. The Transition to Practice Award from the Control Systems Society is an annual award for a person who translates theory. Of course, as engineers, our sort of fundamental objective is to change the way people do things. The award was nominally for a whole collection of activities I'd had working with industry, but I think basically pivoted on developing the certification procedure for the engine controller on the Joint Strike Fighter, which allowed that aircraft to be certified by the FAA to be flown. Now those rules were unlike the pre-existing rules. The engine was what's called multivariable control, so multiple input, multiple output engine control system. Previous jet engines were all many single input, single output control loops. And so the certification process was inappropriate for the new engine, and we developed and proved the theorems alongside the practice of what it would take to certify such an engine. Now, if there's a measure of success, it is that my graduate student, Ji-Sung Park, who was funded on that project, was spirited away to Pratt & Whitney jet engines the day he submitted his thesis. That's technology transfer without a payment.